because we didn't have a JEE, we didn't have a CET, at least me, some of them have got. Today their competence level is much higher than, if, I wonder sometimes if the JEE was there at that time, I would not have been selected here. I am telling you frankly, that is the type of intellectuals coming here. And what is their contribution? The contribution is great. Some of them, there are about 7 or 8 unicorns come out of this college. Don't compare with the IITs, etc., etc. What we are doing, we will assess. There are about 7 to 8 unicorns, probably you all know, Practo, Taxi for Sure, Koo, Simply Learn, and many, many people. In the manufacturing, there are number 1 AMS and AS designers, they are from us. The PCB manufacturing, Pep Shankar, all these kind of people. They are all making world map. They are all the people who have done something in the world, number one, like that they are doing. So, what is there in it for me is a forget. But what is that institute got out of them is a great thing. Because there is a brand. There is likelihood that your relative's child wants to come here. Why? Because you have created a brand. So that is the kind of a thing. So whether they have given Tanuma Dhana or irrespective of that, they have given a brand and the KRC has brought a brand from them. Thank you very much for the unicorns or the small scale industries or SMEs or the vice president and presidents who are working for big companies. Like I think in the same dais I would have mentioned KV Kamath's name n number of times. I have nothing to do with KV Kamath or the ICICI Bank, but the brand that he created for this institution is tremendous. Sell to all of them. So next, there are 10-15 chapters started. There are 30,000 alumni of this place. So what is that we collectively can do it is my focus. I tell people we are very poor marketeers. So I think whomever the association active members should create a small shell of marketing. We are still not marketing our institution with this kind of a brand. If you are a businessman, what you would have done? Think that way. You would have marketed yourself. If your son is a doctorate in some big chapter, how do you market your son or he himself? If you don't know, if you are not making aware of what is happening, then there is no possibility of marketing. So I think I want people concerned to take 3-4 business school people from here only, make them a marketing brand. It should not look like that you are beggars. You should look like that you are marketing your product. There is a business house. There are some activities happening. There are some very good activities happening around KRC, biogas. The minister was telling that day, we are very happy, gas is coming, LPG is coming, you convert into methane, then immediately convert into hydrogen, he said. You will agree, by December 23, Indian Railways will have hydrogen as the fuel. So if KRC is if the KRC is producing hydrogen from the biogas and putting it in the hydrogen plants and give it to the villages to light, what a phenomenal change that we will have. We will take it. So we are proud that KRC is doing something of that. Day before yesterday, somebody said the KRCN has invented some 60% efficiency of power generation from the sea waves. So he wants to come and see me. I don't know what he wanted to see me because this marketing is a big issue. You know an idea, but marketing is an issue. Like that, I want Professor Desai as alumni dean and the team and all of us put together, have a small marketing team, you market the brand, you market the institution, then automatically the money that is required to come to this institution will come. I am sure of it. Thank you very much. So with these few words, what is next 10 years? Somebody should write a plan. So next week or next month, some new director will come. Please make sure that you are very coordinated, big relation with the director and the professors here. So you go along with the objective of the institution rather than what I think should be forced. That is not the philosophy of any marketing or a business. What is that institute wants, how it can be implemented. There are a lot of experts available for each of those projects. So with that, probably we can contribute a lot to this institution and be happy that we are doing something great. Be happy yourself that I am doing it for my personal happiness and not for somebody else to pat you. With this, I close my feel and sentimental 10 minutes of messages. That's all. Thank you very much. If anybody has got any question to be asked on these points, I am welcome to describe about it. Thank you very much.
Well, after the successful inaugural session, Yagna Narayana, I always, when I see the first few words of Yagna, I always feel he's youthful, he's adventurous, he's go-getter, and always feels nothing is impossible. And more than that, he's affectionate. So that's Yagna for me. So give a round of applause for Yagna Narayana in this session and for giving us a very brief talk. And there will be several thank yous. So we would like to thank you now for your talk and presentation. Thank you, sir. And incidentally, Karnataka was the first state to implement NEP. Now we are going to do that. We're going to the session of talk on education NEP. We have with us Professor Rakesh Godwani, who is the founder of School of Meaningful Experiences, an online edtech startup in Bengaluru. He has also taught as an adjunct faculty of communication at IIM Bangalore and IIM Udaipur. And one of his books, What to Say and When to Shut Up, was published by Penguin Random House in November 2014 and translated to Marathi in 2017. So it's now time for me to shut up and welcome Professor Rakesh Godwani. Yeah. It's all yours, Professor Rakesh. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am so humbled and so excited to be here. I also have a couple of my batchmates. I don't know where they are. Nitin Singhal, there he is, and KK Kiran, there he is. Friendships that have lasted 3 decades, and all because of this glorious institution called Surathkal. One of my videos is quite popular on YouTube. If you have not watched it, I must tell you, I chose this college just on one data point, and that was the beach. I had no other idea where this institution is. I come from the west of India, got a seat in engineering, and I only wanted to come to computers, I don't know why. And somebody just before I was about to enter the counseling session to get my seat, just said that there is a college on the beach. I heard that and I changed my entry and I entered the counseling session and there are 3 professors and they say, what do you want? And I said, I want to go to the college on the beach. And they laughed, and probably in their history, nobody would have come to them with that kind of a career trajectory guideline. So they actually said that that college is called Surathkal. I said, sounds amazing, I'll go there. And I came here, and it has been the best decision of my life because I met my best friends, I met great faculty, though I must confess I never learned in the classroom, I learned in the corporate. And I still am very well connected to education as we go along. I shifted from hardcore computer engineering to hardcore devices, laptops and cell phones to education. I had a second job. I would teach anyone how to communicate properly, and that became my core passion. And resigned from my corporate life and became a teacher on hire. Any classroom that I could get is my passion. And I finished a PhD in communication for leaders and decided not to become a tenured professor and dedicate my life to entrepreneurship. So I started an online school called School of Meaningful Experiences, where we only focus on one thing, which is how to help people speak better so that the work gets better. Now, what I'm going to do is in the next 10 minutes or so is to give you my view on this very important concept, and I'm very concerned. One is we are here to celebrate the 60th year of our institute, the Global Convention of Alumni. I'm a proud alumnus myself, but I must tell you why we as alumni have to be more focused on our institution than anybody else. The number one stakeholder of every institution is the alumni. This brand is always on our skin. We cannot wish it away. So we all have to work harder to make sure that this brand does well, because if this name does well, we do well. And it's a symbiotic process. So we have to work harder to support our institute rather than the institute taking care of us. So, and I think NITK Alumni Association is by far a very strong association that I have seen. I also was the head of IIM Bangalore Alumni Association. I built it up, and I'm working with the institute to see if we could replicate that model as we go along. But the question I'd like us to talk about is just a simple question, that what is the role of an education institution? Because that is a question which we are now grappling with. And I'd like to just give you a historical perspective as we go along, just with this one slide, and then I'll tell you an example and give you my recommendations and close. If you look at the starting point on this slide, around 4,000 years ago, the institution, the school, was a very small, very, very focused institution. It was also accessible to only a few people, mostly the kings and nobles. And it has its own advantages, disadvantages. But in the last 500 years ago, I think what has happened is that people started to realize that I can live a better quality of life just by going to a college. The jobs expanded about 600 years ago because of ships and cultures coming together. And people who did not want to do what their fathers were doing, they said that now I can get a skill in a school from some expert and then get into a job of the king. And this is the first career management thought processes that started around 600 years ago, which is a revolutionary change, but it took 3,500 years for where it has to happen. Now, if you go a little bit faster to about 200 years ago, somewhere there, this side, the Industrial Revolution brought a massive global demand. Factories were created, and those who had good education created these factories, got manpower together, built fortunes, and the world changed. So education became a part of the social fabric 200 years ago. But if you look right now, the words have changed. I think education is now becoming a part of our life, our society, and the careers, a word that we are talking about, are becoming a day-to-day norm. We hear this word. We ask our children, what career have you thought for yourself? In fact, today I met many children of our alumni when I was asking them, what do you want to do? And I heard some very good answers. So a school or an education institution is the foundation of the life. So to give you a perspective of where my concern comes from is that about 50 years ago, a school and society were slightly disconnected. 500 years ago, it was quite disconnected, and 4,000 years ago, it was very, very different. But today, if the school and society is not correlated, if the school does not mirror the society outside, and if the society does not connect with the school, I think there is a big problem. Because our students are going to get disillusioned, our faculty will not innovate, and our institution will not progress. So the fundamental job that I'd like to submit to all of you is to help our institute define its role for the modern century all over again. It's a completely, massively changing time that we are experiencing. 2 years ago, none of us knew that the pandemic would change our lives. As of today morning, we all are getting WhatsApp messages that be careful. In the next 7 days, the world will be very, very different. And if the education institute is not taking that into account in education, then our students will not be prepared to go outside. To me, this is the problem that we all have to work together and we all have to start collaborating on. So I'm going to submit just 1 or 2 examples and kind of put together a simple thought process with all of you. And I'll tell a story on how this whole thing works. And the story comes from the late 19th century, somewhere in the 1890s. And I'll tell you why this story is very important for us. If you Google the question, where did the malarial parasite was discovered by who? Most of our students and many of us will crack the answer that it was found by Dr. Ronald Ross because he got Nobel Prize in 1902. But the second part of the question, he found it in Kolkata, is wrong. And that's because our students memorize the answer from some websites, and you'll find this in various websites. The correct answer is not Kolkata. The correct answer is Sikandrabad. Now, why is it important for us? Because our students have stopped thinking about the real story and they just want to crack the answer. And it's not their fault. It is our fault as well. We are equally involved in this process. Let's not blame them. And I'm standing as an alumnus who's also a teacher, who's also got kids who are students. So it's a collective problem. So I'll tell you a story, a very fascinating story about Ronald Ross. In 1897, he was posted in Sikandrabad. He was a doctor, general physician. The British government had given him a job. He was supposed to take care of there is a Sikandrabad area where there are barracks. The soldiers and everybody lived there. And those barracks are still there. I visit every year and I give a lecture in College of Defense Management. So I saw that place. In that place, he and 2-3 other scientists worldwide were grappling with a problem. And the problem was deaths because of malaria. In those days, more than 5 million people died every year from malarial diseases. It's mind-blowing. And the theory was, and all the world's scientists had a theory. They said malaria happens because of something in the air. That's why it's called mal-area, bad air. And Ronald Ross and 2-3 other professors and scientists and doctors said, this doesn't make sense because I'm living in a bad area. People next to my house are falling sick. I'm not falling sick. I'm living in the ground floor. People in the second floor are falling sick. I'm living in the second floor. People in the ground floor are falling sick. So this theory that the air is causing the problem is wrong. But nobody had time to investigate it. So he started to work with few other professors worldwide. They started writing letters to each other. And they were not people who understood microscope and chemical labs and all that stuff, but they were enthusiasts. They wanted to solve this problem. Their mission was, how do I reduce the number of deaths from malaria? Advances had been made that there is a malarial parasite that was discovered, but they didn't know how this parasite spread over the world. And they thought it's the air. And Ronald Ross said that I have a feeling it's the mosquito. And everybody laughed at him. So he, in his small little clinic in Sikandrabad, he had a small microscope. He had some 1 or 2 assistants, and he would tell them, go collect mosquitoes. And he would capture them, put them in beakers, he would breed them. He would feed them the blood of a malarial patient so that the malarial parasites go in the mosquitoes, and he would then, spread these mosquitoes and see if it spreads. And he had a working hypothesis that there are certain kind of mosquitoes that spread this, but he had to prove it. And it took him about 5 years to figure out one particular kind of mosquito. Imagine the challenge. You are in 1890s. There are so many mosquitoes around you. Finding which mosquito carries the malarial zygote is a nightmarish problem. So how do you crack it? By elimination. So you capture a lot of mosquitoes, bucket them into beakers, and there are photos on YouTube and Wikipedia you should all Google. In fact, if you want a lecture he gave a fantastic lecture of how he discovered this. It's a delightful lecture. It's about 92 pages long. He gave it in 1902, and I have a copy of that. It's also available on nobelprize.org. He explains that he spent his own money to buy these beakers, get those chemicals, acids and bases so that he could store them. And he hired people to catch mosquitoes. He did all kinds of permutation combination. His microscope was very old. Imagine, Hyderabad is not a cold city. It's a very hot city. In May, June, July, you are sitting in a lab and you tell your assistant that pankha band kar do, because if I put the pankha, the mosquitoes run away. So you are sitting and he wants mosquitoes to come so that he can capture them and put them in a beaker and study them. And the mosquitoes would die, he would take them, put it in the microscope, and he would dissect them one by one to see where is that zygote. And he couldn't find it. It took him 3 years. And then he was posted in Khairwada, Udaipur. He was posted in winters. There was no mosquitoes there. So he found out that the same mosquito also attacks the pigeons and the sparrows. So he started collecting pigeons and sparrows there. From there he was shifted to Assam, and then he came back to Secunderabad. And in Ooty, in 1897, I think it was 20th August 1897, he was in Ooty. And he saw a particular mosquito sitting in his house on the wall. And he had a hunch that this is the mosquito which causes malaria. And he didn't know what it was called. This is 1897. So he wrote letters to people, and there is no cell phone which you can take up. So he drew that mosquito from his memory and sent it to his friends. It would take 30 days for those letters to reach, and he would get answers after 30 days. And somebody said that it looks like an Anopheles kind of a mosquito. And that's where he came back and he attacked the lab with the research, and he found out that this mosquito comes only in stagnant water. So his theory was now proving right. So stagnant water, one particular mosquito, and then he started to collect them and found the egg inside the stomach wall of the Anopheles mosquito. And when the Anopheles mosquito bites a patient, the egg travels from the saliva of the Anopheles mosquito, goes inside the other patient. And the patient then transmits the disease to everybody else. Once this was done, the solution was very clear. What was the solution? Go to all stagnant water ponds and put a drop of oil, which we all read in our books. Don't you remember that? And he did this in 19th century, 20th century, and the 5 million deaths came down to 0 in 1930. Now, all of this wouldn't have been possible if Ronald Ross wouldn't have started with a question, which is, why are so many people dying from malaria? And what can I do for it? Number two, I'm a doctor. I'm not supposed to do this. He was supposed to take care of medicines and read the pulses and take care of their biological and anatomical issues. But he went outside his discipline to research chemistry, botany, and many more things, to zoology and many more things to figure these things out. And number three, he collaborated with other professors around the world to crack this problem, and he won the Nobel Prize for that. To me, this is the education we have to start giving in every institution of our India. NITK has one of the best facilities. It has one of the finest people I have met in my life. I think now we all have to come together to give our students the best education that is there for them. And the education is nothing but a problem-solving approach, interdisciplinary approach, an education that allows them to choose what they want rather than we telling them what to do. And finally, in the end, we help them become better citizens. So I'm going to just close with just one or two more slides, and then I will cause. This is what I think is the objective of education, that our learners should be able to interact with industry very well. We are very good here, but I think we can strengthen it by more and more problem-solving approaches that we give them. The second, they should be able to deal with society better, which is a big problem. I can now tell you that our students are good engineers, but when it comes to having relationships, having a good life and engaging with society, Everybody is suffering there, and the pandemic is making worse. The third, environment. Very soon our world will lose all resources, and we have to be very mindful of it. So our students have to be connected with the environment. And the last is they have to be connected with their selves. This is where, who am I? What am I doing? What is my happiness? What is my wellness? Are all areas that we have to do. So I'm sure we are all doing great. The alumni would be very happy to support the institute in this regard. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about is that there's an opportunity for the institute to do a lot. And I'll leave this slide with you. I think my request to the institution is please use alumni to help you with more interdisciplinary electives. I think there's an opportunity for the institution to also start a completely new liberal education thinking, which is very good for the society. And the last is help them balance between electives more so that the students can do a better job as we go forward. I have a lot to share. I'll leave you with this one slide, which sometimes I get very worried. I've said this, I think Karan sir remembered this in one of the breakfast meetings that we had. This is a very scary number that I will tell you. There will be 10 billion people in the next 30 years. I think it's a lot of people. Right now we have crossed 8 billion. The average age, 100, will be very common. There are some people in this room who will cross 100 years of life. We are now touching about, before you are very happy on that, I must tell you, you will live definitely 100 years, but the quality of life will be very bad. Yeah, the last 10, 20 years would be on a bed maybe, and I don't want to live like that. I hope I just die while teaching. So, yeah, exactly. So I'm worried that our children will live long, and our education prepares them for 25 years. I think we should stop doing that. We should prepare our children to study and prepare for 70 years of work. That's the third number, which is 70. In our time, it was 25. Our entire career progression was a 25-year calculation. We all wanted to marry, have a house, and by 50, retirement starts to come. That is completely wrong. I think 50 is a time where people say, now I have to live my life. And now I have to start my entrepreneurship and live a better life. So 70 is that number. Now I'll quiz the next. What is 5? 5 days working तो हो गया sir, अब तो 4 पे आ गया और 3 पे आ गया. Who said that? अरे 5 तो is history. 4, huh? 5? 5 working hours a day. Sir, पैसा भी दो पर 5 घंटा काम करूंगा. IT में हो तुम. I think you are. I like how people are so clear in what they want in life. 5. What is 5? I'll give you the answer. There will be minimum 5 complete career shifts by students. I'm in my 4th career shift. I was in computers. I went to a software company, then a technology company, moved to sales marketing, became a PhD student, and now I'm an entrepreneur. Complete shift. And I've not been trained. I can give you examples of people who have created planes. The Wright brothers were not educated in aeronautics. They didn't even go to college. So I think we should look at these things very, very scarily. 5 career changes minimum. In the younger generation that we have, this number will go to 7 or 9. So you do mechanical, you could become a poet, and then you can become a pilot, you could become anything you want. Complete career shifts, it's going to happen. The last one is the toughest one. What is 3? Sir, you are an inspiration. Yeah. That's how it becomes 10 billion. Unbelievable. You know, once you come to this college, you will never change, sir. Sir, शर्म करो sir. बच्चों क्या सिखाओगे आप लोग? I like this crowd. Anyway, so 3. Anybody 3? What is 3? Not 3 wives. I'm surprised. All of you suddenly woke up and are so engaged. Such terrible, horrible people you all are. पढ़ने आए हो, शादी करने आए हो? 3. What is 3? Any smart people in this room? Come on. Sorry? Three vices, okay. 3 roles in a day. Nisha has a great answer. 3 roles in a day, 3 vices, 3 wives, no. 3 spouses, no. 3 degrees, no. 3 what? 3 pegs a day, very good. Unbelievable. Ho gaya, sir. I think alumni convention is over. Let's just go now. I'll give you the answer. There will be 3 colonies. One is Earth. What's the second one? Mars. And third? Your children probably will stay there. And you will be having a passport. Oh, where are you going? Mars for a holiday. Moon, because one child is in Mars, one in Moon, one in Bangalore. So that day has happened. This is the world we have to prepare our students. This is what our alumni should focus on. Everything else is okay. We will work, we will come together, event bhi karenge, 3 pegs bhi piyenge, 3 wives, I'm not so sure, but we'll get there. My request to everybody is, please come together to make our institute ready for this time. This time is right now. We have a few years to prepare ourselves. Once we miss the window, I don't think we'll be in the top league anymore. Because there are much smarter institutes coming out. They will take over and we are going to be the dinosaurs of education. And I hope we don't become dinosaurs of education. I think we should be the people who advance, innovate. We become the beacon light of innovation for this world. So thank you very much. I had a great time with all of you. Over to you.
Can you stay for a moment?
Sir,
Thank you, Professor Rakesh Godwani. Indeed, career shifts, a lot of career shifts is happening already. And before we leave you, I would request Mr. A.S. Karant, the wind Karant, kindly come over to give a memento to Professor Rakesh Godwani. I'm sure Professor Rakesh will be around and you can ask questions offline to him, and a lot of interesting questions you can pose for him. So thank you, Professor Rakesh.
He should stay for the night evening program.
But he doesn't belong to 3 pegs a day. What to do? Thank you. Anyway, right. We now move on. We have with us Mr. R.K. Shenoy, an alumni of NITK 1986 ENC and alumni of IMB and Carnegie Mellon. He has been associated with the Bosch Group since he graduated from NITK and currently member of the executive leadership team responsible for mobility solutions at Bosch Global Software Technologies. So please put your hands together and welcome Mr. R.K. Shenoy for his talk on emerging technology.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I think it's my challenge now to keep this energy up of what Godwani has managed to bring up after the heavy lunch we had in this campus, which is a really, really great place to be in. I still recollect the times we had 82 to 86. Of course, I come from Mangalore, so for me, beach was not the motivation, but the motivation was to meet people across the country, which was a great learning, more than engineering actually. How to live in the intercultural connect with people from different parts of the country was what I learned, especially here. Of course, I'm an engineer by heart, and even today I do a lot of DIY stuff. I have my own workshop at home, and of course at office we do a lot of engineering and enjoy every bit of it. Of course, the career shifts, as Godwani mentioned, I have not done. I've been with Bosch and most of the time in mobility. Of course, I've moved to different domains. I'm in multi-market and then in mobility in different parts of it. But what is changing is what I want to talk about, and how we as alumni of this great institute, how we could go about, based on some of the examples of how we managed from Bosch is what we want to touch upon. First of all, of course, coming from Bosch, I would use that as only a context to talk about how technology is changing and what needs to be done so that we can prepare our institute as well as the student to come out. The domain I'm touching upon here is, of course, mobility. We know that mobility has changed quite a lot. When I was at NITK, it was purely a mechanical machine, as we all know. There was not a single part of electronics in that. And over time, in 1990, when I switched to mobility as one of the first engineers who started developing electronics and software for this at Bosch, is when I moved over and really realized what important changes that are happening. Meanwhile, you may be knowing that we have more than 60 or 70 electronic controllers in every medium-sized car, not even the high-end. And it's no longer each domain that's important. Earlier it was each engineer thinking about only braking or only engine and things like that. It's really cross-domain, and like already talked about earlier, it is no longer possible to have only a mechanical engineer or electrical engineer or electronics engineer to develop this piece of technology that comes into it. Simple thing, what we are talking about, what we developed in India for Indian vehicles itself is something which we develop actually for the globe now. It's no longer different. And that's the opportunity out there, and the pace at which we can engineer is limited by the talent that we have. It's not no longer money. Budgets are available to develop. If you talk about, for example, automated driving, already there are vehicles on Indian roads developed by us at level 2.5, for example, which can manage to avoid accidents by automated braking or detect lanes, etc. Of course, not on most roads, especially look at Bangalore, where no lane marking and the amount of density of vehicle we have there. If you are able to test those vehicles on Indian roads, I'm sure they can run anywhere in the world. But that's the opportunity we have actually to develop and validate and release. But what I want to touch here is the technology that we're talking about, even electrical vehicles, whether it's battery electric or whether it's hydrogen powered, hydrogen cell, fuel cell, or any other mode of transport where we can go to green energy. All that needs to be done now is to develop these technologies, and we have access to the technology, and a lot of innovation can happen in India. And most importantly, this needs to be done jointly with industry and academia. It's no longer a separation between the two. I think it was already touched upon previous. Godani already mentioned. It's not that there is an industry separate and an academy separate. If you look back in history, I passed out in '86. For first 15 years, actually, I never came back to the campus. Somewhere around 2000, we were attending one conference, and we are discussing quite a lot about what's the talent that's coming out and why is there a big gap between what the students are learning. They're learning on microprocessors or controllers, which are really ancient. The what which I developed or learned, say 8085 controller, this was still being learned even in 2000. And we said, if this gap is only because we are not trying to bridge the gap and academy is not working with industry. I realize it's actually the other way around. We know that the industry is moving fast, the technology is changing so fast, but we are not actually engaging together to bring these changes into the academy is what I thought. And many of us together, we try to work and bridge this gap. Of course, this is depicted in one of the slides. I put a simplistic slide here to talk about, while we talked about mechanical engineering, hardware and software, this is of course the basics that is there for most of these products we're talking about. But what has changed now is the pace at which the technology is changing. And in the career, I think one is changing the area where the person is working, but the other one is getting upskilled. This is definitely needed. Every 4 or 5 years, the technology is changing completely. And if somebody is not getting upskilled, then the person is no longer relevant in the industry. So it is actually a joint responsibility that we need to upskill in the industry as well as jointly along with academia to see how this can be bridged. For example, even if you take a simple braking for a car, we meanwhile have prognosis, which is an algorithm runs which can detect when is the brake shoes wearing out. We would have earlier tried to remove the brake shoe and try to find out or predict it based on only number of kilometers. Even oil change was simply said you should change every 5,000 or 10,000 kilometers. Any longer it's not needed. We know that this can be calculated. There are algorithms running. For example, the modern vehicle, we have developed this algorithm from India, which can detect when is the oil degradation happening and then change the oil accordingly. But these are combination of the deep domain knowledge that's needed along with mathematical models or AI ML that can run or digital twin that can actually simulate completely. But coming to simulation, actually we had another finding recently. With 2 years of pandemic, while on one side many of us were happy because there was no much travel, we were able to work from home, we were able to eat food at home. But what we realized is the engineers who passed out, who studied on third and fourth year during the pandemic, and they came to industry, they never even knew how to switch on a lab or operate labs because they hardly actually worked in labs. They were not able to do this. And that is where we realized that we need to quickly upskill or do this skilling in industry itself. Of course, pandemic definitely helped us that the world is meanwhile flat. If a project is being run, earlier it was typically, for example, for Bosch, most of the projects were led out of Germany and the team members may be sitting elsewhere in the world. But meanwhile, the project lead can be anywhere. It can be in India or BGSW, Bosch Global Software Technology. We have center in Vietnam and Mexico as well. The project lead can be in one place, the expert can be in another location, and the teams can actually be spread out. And these innovative projects can be run anywhere in the world, and that is where has changed completely the industry. This is something which, of course, I know that academy also has changed. We know that there are a lot of virtual classes, but we should for sure not do is even labs being completely virtualized, because then you have no access, you have no physical connect with what's happening in the world. And this is something I think we should definitely focus on. And when you talk about the infrastructure in NITK, when I talked about 15 years later when I came, what was shocking for me was to look at the ICE engine lab. Not a screw or a bolt had changed in this particular lab after 15 or 20 years. That is when we realized that actually unless we upskill it, because on the road, the vehicles had common rail systems already. We were developing common rail systems which is completely controlled through electronics. Of course, the mechanical system has to be there on the back end. It's mostly a mechatronic system. But unless we have a combination of hardware, mechanics, and electronics and software, we are not able to develop these new technologies for these vehicles. So this is what I wanted to depict, which means the technology shift that's happening, we need to prepare our students for the future with that. That is where the story of Academy Connect started. Of course, meanwhile, we work with almost 30 institutes, including NITK, and we do a lot of things with various institutes. I'm sure as alumni here, we can actually do much more. Of course, we are doing this from Bosch in small ways with the 30 institutes. There are various courses that we introduced. We have faculty development programs and even labs have been installed in many of these institutes. I'll talk about a few examples. But unless this exchange happens between industry and academy, we will never be able to bridge this gap is what I wanted to talk about today and how we can make it happen, especially for this institute which we pass out from. And I see great potential that we can further develop this. I'm sure many companies are already doing and many sitting in this room are also working with NITK. But I thought unless we scale this up, we'll not be able to bridge the gap what we need for the future. Some of the examples, though, not from NITK in the beginning, because I want to talk about what we are doing to train engineers who come from various institutes. Over the last 10 years, we would have recruited close to 30,000 students. Because BGSW today is 25,000 strong engineering institute. We develop products worldwide. Almost 50% of Bosch products are actually engineered out of India. And this is happening because we are able to get students from the academy and then train them and put them onto these projects. Of course, even in the ecosystem itself, we try to see how we can build this ecosystem with the academy so that it's not only Bosch that needs this talent, but also many other companies. Of course, there is a shared interest as well. We know that if we train our own engineers and they're good, this will not solve the problem because all other industries also need them. And that's what raises the talent war that's going on today. And that can be done only if we're able to work jointly. Some examples of what we have done. To start with, we have done many electives, whether it's HMI in KCT or whether it is cyber security. These are both, of course, more software-intensive topics. We have done similarly for power electronics in electrification and other topics or reliability, engineering with PSG, etc., which is more on the mechanical side as well. So we are doing, depending on institute's interest, we have picked up some of those topics. This is what makes students ready for the industry is what we believe. Of course, another side, what we do is post-graduation courses. There was a lot of reluctance earlier in academia to have post-graduation courses defined by industries, which of course needs a lot of approvals, no question on that. But we were able to deploy some of them, whether it's a MTech program for EV. This we have done with the NIT Surathkal now. Similarly, we have done it with NIT Calicut as well. I know that the dean is common between the two, but that's only incidental. But we started this sometime back parallelly, and now I'm happy that we have made it happen. But what we need to do is actually also joint innovation. There were a lot of challenges earlier with respect to who owns the IP and things like that. Meanwhile, we have come far away from that. And I believe that a lot of problem statements and challenges are available, which can be actually worked upon in the academy much faster than industry. Because in industry, it's very clear. We look at it ROI point of view, and we cannot do things which we are not clear about success. Whereas in academia, I'm sure that we can try out a lot of things parallelly and see how we can be successful here in terms of developing products for the future. And these are few examples what I mentioned here. The background of all this is, of course, the higher education, because like I said, it is doing upskilling of even our associates. So many of our associates actually go for postgrad in these courses. What is most important, though, is actually the faculty development programs, because many times we believe that there is infrastructure and we know what curriculum has to be introduced, but unless, of course, the faculty development happens and we're able to bridge, this will not help. And that is where I think, meanwhile, we're investing heavily on getting our experts onto the industry, academia, and then they're able to handle a few topics as well. We, of course, celebrate Engineers Day, etc., with students even from 10th grade, because we actually want to look at who are interested to take engineering because they are passionate to do engineering, not because they took engineering because their parents wanted them to. Most of us, I think, we did that most of our parents said, okay, you either be a doctor or engineer, and that's how we ended up in NITK or any other institutes. But I think, meanwhile, that is not what is important. So we are trying to kindle the interests of students early on in the school so that they actually get into engineering and pick up a branch which they enjoy. Before I close, I thought I'll touch upon what we do for NITK. They have done, of course, competency development. Some of the examples I gave before in terms of labs, where we upgraded the labs from the IC engines to common rail, or even electronic automotive labs. We also sponsored events which are more technology events so that we're able to promote the interest in the students, whether it's a Baja or whether the hackathons. Hackathons, we realize, is the one best method to work jointly with the academy. What students learn within 3 days of the hackathon is something which they would otherwise taken almost a semester, is what we have heard from some of the students who attended that. And the outcome of those were really brilliant. The students are really brilliant. Many of them who come for MTech to even Bosch, we have seen that they're really, high caliber, and they're able to work much more than some of our experienced, engineers at our office. So these are few things we have done, but one specific thing we have done differently in Bosch is actually to identify students who had joined us 2 to 3 years back as the campus ambassadors. This is something which we learned over time, that putting engineers who have been with BURS for maybe 20 or 30 years, while content-wise they may be really good, but they may not be from, the mindset point of view on how to work with academy, we realize is the biggest gap we have. And branding part of it, if they are to create interest in the students, is something which can be best done if the students who are there from a particular institute and they are working with us, they are the alumni from that particular institute, but only working with us for 2 to 3 years. We have created these teams called the CEOs, the campus ambassadors, and they are the ones who actually connect. And this is one good practice I would also recommend if many of you are planning to do much more with NITK. So with this, I would like to close my short intro on this topic. I'm sure in the panel later on we can discuss how we can go about, and all of us here in this alumni, how can we strengthen NITK, especially on the innovation. Because if you look at the rating of NITK, actually where we fall is more on the innovation part of it. I'm sure there are a lot of opportunities where we can work together and as a team, and I think that is what we are here for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rakesh. Now, before we leave you, I would request Mr. Anil Kakode, the Chief of Kakode Associates Consulting, to kindly come over and present a memento to him. You can go to the center. Talk on emerging technology. Mr. Rakesh, thanks for taking time off. You just flown in from Kolkata. Yes, so nice of you. Love towards the alumni. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're feeling slightly sleepy, if you put your hands together, the sleep will go away. Thank you. Thank you, sir. And now, prior to the Bharatanatyam cultural program, we have one important panel discussion to happen. The panel discussion on education and technology. It's indeed my pleasure to request Professor Prasad Krishna, the director of NIT Kozhikode and in charge director of NITK, to kindly come over first. Director, Professor Prasad Krishna. Yeah. Just got a message that he's slightly not feeling well, but we have Professor Rakesh Godwani, the 10 billion man, to kindly come over first. And I would also request Mr. Balakrishna Puttur, of course, Balakrishna Puttur is the founder and MD of Cabinet Systems and Controls. Balakrishna Puttur, kindly come over. And incidentally, Mr. Balakrishna Puttur is the president of the NITK Pune chapter. So morning we missed you on the stage. So I'd request you to kindly give a bouquet and a shawl to him, present him before we start off. Thank you, sir. We missed you in the morning, and this is for being the president of NITK. And now I would like to call upon the other panelists. Kindly take a seat. Yeah. Professor Uday Kumar R. Yaragatti, the former director of MNIT Jaipur and in charge director of NITK Surathkal, and a favorite amongst the students. Several compliments from the Union Minister, Mr. Javadekar. I did mention in the morning that if at all one of the most active director. Welcome to you, Mr. Uday. We also have Mr. S.R. Bala, the former head of Chemical Division Reliance, and importantly, General Secretary of the NITK Alumni Association. Welcome to you, Mr. Bala. Yes, very proactive audience. I think the proactiveness is here, that there is no activity there. You need to put your hands together. Yes, we also have Professor Arun Islur to kindly come over, NITK Professor in charge for STEP, Science and Technological Entrepreneurship Park. Hasn't come. He's just said that he's joining us. Yes, I think he will join in later. We also have with us Mr. Mohit Dubey, the CEO of Sectionit Incubation Center, MIT Group of Educational Institutions from Pune. Okay, with the hope that Professor Arun Islur will join in, and also in the interest of time, I would request Professor Rakesh Godwani to initiate a few. Yeah. And Mr. Rakesh and I do come back for the panel. Yeah. No, just you have Arlen. They can speak from there. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Professor Arun Islur has sent in a message that he will join in now, and yeah. So education and technology, integral part of our lives, just like air and water. Education and technology in today's times is pretty important. Yeah. I would request but I would suggest Professor Rakesh, you initiate. Yeah. It's over to you straight away.
Thank you. Thank you. So I thought what we'll do is quickly discuss a very important discussion, which is shifting trends in education and what is the role of alumni, faculty in this whole process. We'll keep it very short so that we engage with you. I have 2 rounds of questions that I will do with our panelists out here. Unfortunately, Professor Prasad Krishna, first of all, was slightly unwell since morning, but there's another important meeting he had at 4 o'clock with the Senate, so he's conveyed his apologies. And Professor Islur will be expected anytime soon. We curated this, Shinoy sir and I curated this with only one expectation, that we would like to hear different views on what we can do on education. So what I'll do is, I'll just request a quick introduction one by one. All of us, excluding me, will introduce themselves. And the question they have to respond is their quick career trajectory after NITK when they left. So that is round 1. And round 2, I have a specific question for each of them, and then I will do that as we go forward. So first, Mohit. No, go ahead. Just.
He's here. Please come in.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
That's all. You are on the spotlight. Right, Namaskar. Thank you, Rakesh Bhai, for starting with me. Probably I'm the only one on the stage from 2000, and actually it's the turn of this millennium. I did my chemical engineering here, and then straight out of campus got placement with Infosys. Spent around 12, 13 years with Infosys in the corporate sector, both in India and global. Came back to India, and then under community empathy program, I switched into academic world. Went to my native place. There's a university that I started working with them. Went into the leadership role there as a pro-vice chancellor. Also got an opportunity to travel around the world, visited Harvard University, Oxford University, University of Cincinnati as part of a leadership group, just to understand why the world's best education system is private and not the public university system. Also happened to be on the leadership board of Tier 2 think tank between India and Australia. Traveled to Australia as part of that leadership group. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I am into the Atal Innovation Missions, Atal Incubation Center, which is primarily creating the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem across the length and breadth of this country. So it's been a journey from a corporate to academia to the government kind of a role, pseudo-government, if you will. So I've kind of covered in the last 20, 25 years a trajectory of corporate, academia, and the government pretty much into the policy-making role or the insights of the policy-making role. So it covers while we, it was great to listen in the dialogue on 2 fronts where how do you bring industry and academia together, but we kind of left the other side, the third pillar of the government, because that dictates where both of these engines, the academia and the corporate, has to align their vision, because the national priorities are set by the government, not by the industry or not by the government. So I think it's the triple helix or the triple segment of government, academia, and the industry that need to work together. And happy to spend some time in each of these things, and will be happy to contribute to this whole thing. Look forward to all the deliberations. Thank you once again for Rakeshji for having us.
Yeah. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much, GC14, for giving me this wonderful opportunity to interact with you. Myself, Arun M. Islur. I did my MSc from Mangalore, MSc in Applied Chemistry from Mangalore University during 1998, and thereafter during 2002 I completed my PhD with the specialization of medicinal chemistry from Mangalore University again. And then I moved to Israel for about almost about 20 months. I was in Israel, Israel Institute of Technology, where actually I got exposure on polymer membranes for desalination as well as water purification related research. And after coming back to India, I joined NITK during 2008 January, and already, by this next month I'll be completing 15 years here. Teaching as well as the research is my passion. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Okay. I graduated from 1982 from KRC, and immediately after graduation I joined paper mill. I was there for 7 years. Then I went to steel melting. I was then melting for 3 years. Then I switched over to galvanizing, cold rolling and color coating automation lines. So there I worked for around 6 years. Then in 97 I started my own industry, Cabinet Systems and Controls Private Limited at Pune, where I started to manufacture the industrial automation mainly for steel galvanizing line, color coating lines and major pipe industries, where huge pipes are manufactured and those pipes are used underground or under the ocean for gas transportation across the world. So now my customers are spread worldwide, including USA, UK, Europe, Africa and other countries. This is my pleasure that a chance is given for me to be here by the Global Convention team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, good evening all the beautiful people here. I am Uday Kumar Eragatti, 1984 BTech last 5-year batch. I am son of Professor R.B. Eragatti. All you know, he was a physics professor. As soon as I finished 84, I went to Dharwad for just a holiday, but I was pulled into the teaching profession in SDM Dharwad as a lecturer for 4 years. After that, my father felt that I should do MTech and join NIT, then KREC it was. So 1990 I finished MTech and joined as a lecturer here. Continuously worked till 2015 in different capacities as a electrical in charge for RE office, then head of the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, then chief warden and dean of student welfare. And October 10th was my last day of Dean of Student Welfare. That is after 3 years. I was selected as Director of MNIT Jaipur. So October 14th, within 2-3 days, I shifted to Jaipur. Along with the Jaipur, you take one, you will get one free. I was Director of IIIT Kota also. That was in the Jaipur campus. Along with that, take one free night, take 2 free. I was made Inter Director of NIT Goa. NIT Goa was facing a land problem where I directly talked to the then Chief Minister Parikar and got 120 acres of land for NIT Goa. After 1 year or so years, NIT Uttarakhand came into MNIT campus. So again, I was interim director for that. So at one time I was handling 4 institutes successfully with all your love and support and with all the experience of NITK, KREC, Surathkal. In Jaipur, I made a tremendous changes. I brought the NIF ranking, which was 73 when I took charge, to 37. Iska ulta kar diya. A lot of developments in MNIT Jaipur. I started the construction of IIIT Kota in Kota, so that the building is ready. It will be open by the end of December. And of course, Goa is already started. So it's become my passion. And I was chairman of a seat selection board, CSAB, what you call for the undergraduate, for 3 years continuously. And before I came here, I was a chairman for CSAB, CCMT, that is for MTech selection, CCMN, MSc selection, and DASA. All the 4 were given to Jaipur, where I am the director because of my work. And during this period, I did a revolutionary change that I saw that the NITK or NIT seats are full by almost 96.8%.
It used to be around about 80% fill and 20% vacant seats. So I could, with the special round, the 3-4 special round, I brought it to the 98.2%. And in the faculty side, I was instrumental in, there are a lot of government engineering college across India. The faculty shortage was there. So I requested the ministry at that time, Sri Javadekar ji and Subramanyam was the secretary. I made a national selection. The NITs in the different states will select from that state lecturers for these engineering colleges with the MTech only, not PhD. Even PhD also is it. And after joining, they will do part-time PhD in the neighboring NITs. So that is a part-time PhD. They have to finish within 4 to 5 years, depending on the guide relation. And after that, they have to work for that institute for 5 years. So there is that shortage of faculty in the government engineering colleges across Kashmir to Kanyakumari was solved. That is still continued. It's almost 3.5, 4 years. They'll be finishing their PhD and they have to work for 5 years. That is a pakka this thing. That one time they did that scheme and now they have closed it. And today's topic, I have initiated a lot of this technology initiative during the COVID period. And MNIT Jaipur, where I was director, we were the first one to start online digital classes, first one to announce the results accordingly. And first time in the whole of India, the placement was also guaranteed 100% at that time and they're all happy. Thank you. And I'm thankful for my own institute, my alma mater and alumni who have given me this opportunity to be here rather than running around. You saw me in the morning, so I'm sitting here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am S.R. Bala. Like Mr. Mohit Dubey, I am also a chemical engineer, passed out in the year 1974. In fact, I had a golden period in this glorious institute, and that bestowed on me the gold medal, President Gold Medal from the Mysore University, University of Mysore, in the whole engineering discipline. Then after my completion of the engineering, I had a short stint in ONGC, Gujarat. Then I later shifted to BRPL, Bongaigaon Refined and Petrochemicals. That is actually a sister company of IPCL, Baroda. Later, Engineers India Limited picked me up. So I worked with Engineers India for 11 years. Then again, Reliance picked me up. And with Reliance, I had a long stint for almost 21 years. And Reliance, in fact, I was instrumental in preparing the project report for the Jamnagar refinery project. And the management took the decision based on my project, my team's project studies. And now it is one of the largest refineries in the world, Jamnagar refinery. And after Reliance, I thought I should work in a global company. So I joined AMEC First Wheeler Singapore. So again, I was mostly in the project. I was doing process engineering, project management, and partly involved in procurement and engineering. So during my tenure in Reliance, so I was assigned to EPC Contractors Office in London for 3 years, then in Houston for 2 years. And then 2015, because of my wife's health and all, I had to come back. Then I was almost not doing any job. Then I took some consultancy work for some time. But during COVID time, I stopped everything. Now I am only leading a retired life. I'm doing mostly the social work, like now I'm the General Secretary of this Alumni Association, and I'm spending most of the time on social activities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the umbrella of our discussion is one question, which is how do we reinvent engineering programs using the NEP 2020 framework. Since S.R. Bala sir was the last to speak, I'll ask him to be the first one to take the question. Sir, you set up Jamnagar refinery, you were instrumental in so many projects. Honestly, which subject that you studied here in your engineering has helped you outside the college? Is there any subject that helped you? If yes, which one? And is there a subject you felt have been trained when you were here?
Yeah, the subject, oh sorry. Yeah, subjects helped me in my professional career, as you mentioned, mostly, particularly with respect to Jamnagar refinery project, is process engineering economics, chemical plant design, thermodynamics, kinetics, mass and heat transfer, chemical technology. Subjects missing, and I felt so, refining and petrochemical configuration studies. This is a very tricky subject, but then it definitely is, I felt, is required for a chemical engineer, because during my time, chemical engineering was in a big demand. Now the whole situation is different. Now it's more into IT, more into telecommunications and all those. But I feel you are now also, the chemical engineers are given some exposure in these subjects also, the configuration studies, and then the project work or thesis based on 6 months hardcore internship in industry. That is very much important, because I found that some of the interviews I attended, IITs had upper hand because they had this in their curriculum. So I feel this is one of my suggestions. Thank you.
Second question goes to Shinoy sir. You have worked with industry and collaboration with education. Leaving the collaboration aside, do you think that the students coming out of engineering school are ready for the industry? What gaps do you see that should be filled in the college here rather than the upskilling programs that are done there?
Yeah, I think what we see now is the technology student work on, in the academia, is typically not state of the art. We always have a gap. I completely agree with the suggestion that there should be internship jointly with the industry as well, where we can bridge this, because if we talk about electronics now, as a simple example, we used to work on microcontrollers, but meanwhile the industry has moved to microprocessors. Because of high compute availability and so much of resources available, and all the algorithm needs a lot of resources. So industry has moved to microprocessors, but in academia we are still teaching more on microcontrollers, as an example. Second is that it's a cross-domain, or curriculum when you look at, you can't segregate saying it's mechanical engineering or electronics or software. I think the projects, finally we will need expertise of everything, and unless we have a depth in one and a width in many others, you cannot be a good engineer. And this is something which has to be probably inculcated right from year one in academia, is what I believe, which I think is a very much need in the industry, which is not really so in most institutes, is what I see. And this is something which is changing. Meanwhile, I see that we have mechatronics and others coming up, or automotive electronics, etc. But I think we have to do much more of them.
Since Professor Krishna Prasad is not here, I'll throw this question at Professor Yaragatti, since he's also a faculty. 2 questions to you. Since you get buy one, get 4 institutes, I'll do buy one, get 1 question free. The first question is, how do you take NITK to global rankings and how can alumni help? Second question is, how can the NEP framework be utilized at NITK and how can the alumni help?
Yeah, that's the right question. The second question is very apt, because I was a member of UGC committee for the NEP implementation program, and I have discussed with almost doctors, engineers, lawyers, commerce people, dentists, with 16 people, and framed a curriculum and given to the university. I think they just announced a few days back that 4-year degrees. I'll be proudly saying that it's my work which has been implemented there. NITK, again, it's not different from any of all these things. How we can enter into the NEP sector is, we have already started in most of the NITs, especially in NIT Surathkal also. Multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary work has been started. It is just in a tortoise speed. It's not a rocket speed yet, because during my short period of tenure, I had a tie-up with almost 3 medical universities to work on with our engineering structure. Then we wanted to have a tie-up with the arts group, that is commerce and arts group, to teach them BCom in NIT Surathkal at least. I opted it for commerce teaching. I had asked our management department to do it. So where the entry will be given by the Ministry of Education. It is not an open entry. So we had people from commerce. Then if we introduce the subject which gives them interest in the science, that is life science background, that time it will be helpful to the engineering faculty as well as the students who are coming into that way. So in that category, we are trying to leap into the new national education policy with the multidisciplinary, focused disciplinary. We can't be telling that we'll teach you music, we'll teach you arts and all. That is some other's cup of cake, not ours. Ours is the engineering field where we can help into the medical field, in the medical side, and our management team can help into this commerce and arts side. That we are already implementing. And what we want from the alumni side is, whoever is an expert in that area, as Mr. Shanai told, we need their help because our students are not ready for the industry purpose. It's very clear, 100% clear, right for the last 30 years I am teaching, and even I was a student. As soon as we finish our graduation and go to the industry, we see stars. There are a lot of stars now. It happens that way. That's why they will be given as a trainees. And after the taking trainee, they feel that I'm not fit here, I'll jump into some other place, and that is what's happening now. And now IT industries are officially, they are making bench workers because they are not trained to that. So here I need the alumni support who are in the different field, right from any of the branches, to train my students. Okay, internship is one thing. You give the projects, the problems to solve here. We have, as Professor Desai told, we have 2,000 intake at the beginning, even that PhD is also including. But for the guides problems, let the industry give the problems. In that industry where my alumni is there, they give us the problems. So that will be, in a way, we get a ready-made problem and we can solve onto that. That is the second question. The first question I just forgot.
How do we take our rankings?
Yeah, rankings it is a very tricky question, my rankings will be, because this time we are number 10, we are hoping for 9, but we lost it by 2-3 points. And to be frank, the perception rate is very less compared to the perception of who are in the higher side. Perception means the alumni, the public, the other public, Aam Janta nahi, the public connected with the institute should praise or tell about my institute in that website, whatever they have to log in. And what we are not doing that job. My NBA team will not do that job. Call the parent of a student and please log into that. Once they log in, the speed is very less. वो घूमता रहता है और ये bore होके उसको बंद कर देते. They won't give their opinion. This is what is happening, what I have found out. So our perception is, compared to the other thing, we are just 5 to 6 less. So I want my alumni who are across the world to take it very seriously whenever the mail comes to them that please log into the NBA website and give the perception. The race is there in the perception, I'll tell you. Because MNIT Jaipur, 73 to 37, I could get it in the other field where the publications, the research work and other things. Do you know the perception of MNIT Jaipur is 8 or 15, whereas perception of NIT Surathkal is 56, 60. And NIT Trichy is 60, 70. The perception, we are losing in a perception only. Rest of the things we are competing with everyone, everything. We have a research, we have papers, citations, publications, PhDs coming out. Placement is 100% almost. But this perception plays a major role, which we have requested the NBA team to not to give more weightage on this perception. Because what happens, the private institutes, I'm not blaming them, it's their right. They continuously call on to the parents of students, call on to the different stakeholders, keep on asking, you please do it, please do the perception, take up the NBA website and answer all those things and all. But whereas NIT system, we don't do that. हमें क्या पड़ा है, अरे यार कुछ भी होता है, हमें तो पगार मिलता है. It is that attitude. Casual attitude is what's spoiling in all the NITs, and we are not separate from that. So I request alumni to be very serious during this this ranking. It's a year-long process going on. So what happens? अरे शनाई देता है, मैं क्यों दूँ? मैं तो आराम से हूँ. गोदानी साहब देखेंगे, अरे यार मैं तो globally connected है, मेरे लिए NIT, of course it's my basic institute. There are a lot of people who will give. I'm not telling you they are not neglecting. They are telling it, चलो दूसरे वाला दे देते हैं, मेरा एक perception से कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. ऐसा नहीं है वो. Perception is more important. That is what I require from alumni. As well as this internship, पक्का करना है. Because everyone comes and tells, no, I can take some 10, and finally when the letter comes, you give us only 1 or 2. There is no depth for this thing. Because during this short period of 6 months, I had a MOU with almost 12 to 13 different sectors, industries, medical sector and all. And in fact, we started MTech for electric vehicle with the Bosch support. They are giving students, ready-made students, I think 20 students are there. We started during my period, and that's my subject also, my PhD also, electric vehicle. Now Tata Motors also want to have it. So the last Senate, we made it clear that anybody can come in. Because we have a lot of rules and regulations. We cannot simply allow walk-in type. So now Tata Motors are coming in. Similarly, such things, we are starting a new ventures into this new teaching process. And my idea and attitude of the leader at the helm of the affairs in the academic side is be a student-centric teaching system. We were all with the teacher-centric, for your kind information. Whatever the teacher taught us, we studied. The generation gap, the scenario has changed. It has to be a student-centric. In your crowd, if you have a 2,000, what is their main subject they want, you have to give, you should be ready for that. So for that, if my faculty is not ready, I request all the alumni who are expert in their subjects, at least spend some time, come here, give the lectures or online lectures. That will help. Right, I think I am clear.
Here's a question to you, Puttur sir. You are in a very core engineering side. We know that many of our students don't like to work in core engineering because IT is much more well-paying, much more easier. The same thing I still remember when I was doing computers. My friends from mechanical and electrical used to hate us कि तुम तो AC में बैठते हो. And so there is this myth that students feel that core engineering jobs are difficult, so let's go to easier jobs. They're also well-paying, and you are a person who set up industry. So the question to you is your views on how do we instill pride in our students that they feel that core engineering is also worth something focusing on.
Thank you, Rakesh. This core engineering means when I had studied electrical power engineering at KREC, there was no other subjects except the core engineering. Basically 6 subjects were there. But later on other subjects were derived from these 6 subjects, and they became the other subjects like computer engineering, IT engineering and all. Now I started my own industry after I worked for 15, 16 years in core engineering. Then now I manufacture the core engineering items which are supplied worldwide. And most of the steel industries across the world know me, even by my name and my company. But is it possible for a engineer who is worked in IT industry to grow like this? It is not at all possible. The core engineering is very much essential for anybody who is really interested in doing engineering study. He should do only core engineering, not any engineering, any other subjects like IT. Okay, IT will be giving better opportunity, better money and all, but still for timing he can select for the IT, but later on he should go to his core engineering only. This is my suggestion to him. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll look forward for more examples from you to instill pride in them. One may not be enough. You'll have to give 3, 4. Can you pay 4 times what Google pay in your company?
No, it is not. I am not talking about the money matter. It is only the subject.
I'm just having fun, sir. All right, okay. Mohit, question to Mohit. Mohit, you have done stellar work and you're still doing a lot of work on this entrepreneurial mindset policies with the government. But tell us your view. How do we get our students to become more entrepreneurial? Everybody talks about it, but when the placement comes, everybody drops their ideas and they take the first job. Usually the job which is the most paying. Many times that job is also not even connected to the branch that they have done. So your views on how do we get our students to be more entrepreneurial?
Thank you, Rakesh Bhai, for the great question. And let me take a step back before I directly answer that question, because the theme of this global convention itself has the answer. You know, what are the qualities or the attributes that we want to develop? The quick answer is 3 words that I see here. We need to imbibe them, imbibe the qualities so that they can connect well. And I'll elaborate on what I mean by connect well. Converge well and collaborate well, right? Before I get into that, specific to your question about the students' qualities or the aspect that they need to develop. The way I look at it, all of us have been wired to answer questions. All of us have been thrown questions at us, and with 1 to 2 lines of questions, and we always used to answer the question, and the teacher or the examiner would evaluate that, right? With blue pen, green pen, red pen. 10 में से 9 मिला तो अच्छा आंसर था, 10 में से 4 मिला तो खराब आंसर था. When we talk about innovation or entrepreneurial mindset, it is about problem solving part of it, right? When we talk about problem solving, first we have to identify the problem. Many times that I sit across the jury panels, whether it is which of the who's who of the institutions that these guys come from, the most difficult aspect that I see is that they are not able to articulate their problem statement. The problem statement runs in 4 to 5 slides, and they are making comments. मैं गरीबी दूर करना चाहता हूँ. मैं climate change solve करना चाहता हूँ. Please understand, that's a statement, not a question that you are throwing at me. So, throughout our lives, we have been wired in our minds to answer a question when the question was thrown at us by somebody else. Now, it's the reverse process that we are asking our students. Can you ask a question? And can you define that question? Can you articulate that question in very specific words? So for me, if my first slide doesn't tell me a problem statement in 2 lines, I'm just put off. I'd say you have not defined a problem statement. So if you don't define your problem statement well or articulate your problem statement well, no matter what you do, you are still not designing a solution or creating the prototypes and the POCs of the world related to that problem statement. So I think asking the problem statement is the biggest feature that we are looking at when we work with school kids through the adult tinkering programs, which is the world's largest tinkering programs in the school ecosystem, or through the Smart India Hackathons, which is now the world's largest program as far as hackathons is concerned. Many ministries, after multiple of failures, when we said you go out and get the question out of the world, right? You observe and then define the question. They were not able to do that. And that's why you will see now in the new versions of these Smart India Hackathons or grand challenges that various ministries are doing, they are defining their problem statements, because the students were wasting a lot of time in articulating their problem statements. So now when we have the problem statement through these compendiums, people said about ISRO. So ISRO has come up with their own problem statements called Response Basket. Ministry of Defense has created a Defense Innovation Organization, DIO. They run these challenges called DISC challenges. So they have their problem statements. So I think if we can inculcate that habit of asking the right questions, because first year में सबके यहाँ सबसे ज़्यादा attendance होती है, second में attendance वो कम हो जाती है, third year आते आते अगर placement लग जाता है तो final year में कोई class नहीं जाता है. I think if we can bring those people back to our classes where we all understand why it happens, the pattern of reducing attendance to the class, if we can bring them back so that we can deliberate upon questions, thereby creating this new body of knowledge, which essentially we call it as research. So taking that whole research, clubbing it towards the innovation, and then bringing it back towards the entrepreneurial side of it. So research, innovation, and entrepreneurship, if we can combine that together, if our students can start thinking into that direction of, okay, मैं project कर रहा हूँ. I saw that fantastic students there. When I asked them, have you registered that as a startup? Right? If I want to fund you this whole thing, where will you take money? So it's a department. The department is not your startup. So if I want to put an equity, money against the equity, where should I put that money? So I think if we can bring those levels of maturity in terms of problem solving with more structured fashion, I think that is one way of looking at things. Let me quickly touch base upon the connect part of it. And I know it's not about students, it's about all of us as a group also. I know Yari sir mentioned about the perception part of it. Right? It is because of the lack of connect. Shinoy sir was mentioning about, he spent, 13 years, sir, before you came back again? 15 years? It's a lack of connect. If we can't connect to people, and people will not come back just because I got an email. If I am not being consistently hit back upon, with mails week after week, if not week, months after months at least. Here is this new thing happening, here is new project that is coming up, here is this new ground that is coming up. Can you support some of these things? Beyond money, it's, I think, the old generation might have phenomenal money. But this new generation brings a lot of mentorship, a lot of advisory in terms of how do you blend a lot of technology interventions into this whole thing. How do you do the global cross-border transactions, right? How do you advise them with regards to the specifics of the domains? And sir was mentioning about this whole thing. लोग आते हैं agri tech में, मैं सबसे पहला सवाल पूछता हूँ, tech हटा दो, agri में आलू बताओ नीचे उगता है ऊपर उगता है. See, because if you don't understand the domain well, tech will not help you. Tech is only about scaling those solutions, making that reachable to the masses. But you still need to know the domain. If you don't know कि satellite LEO में कैसे जाएगा, don't give me ज्ञान, मैं tech से करके उसको satellite से map करके data analytics कर दूंगा. So I think connection is a very important point where they need to know कि connect कैसे होगा. And because of REC culture earlier, I am very proud to tell you that back then, I can boast that I had friend in every nook and corner of this country because speaking the different languages. Maybe the NIT culture has kind of killed that some part of it, where it is still like एक जगह से आएंगे, चार जगह से आएंगे, dominance under the garb of meritocracy. We have kind of reduced or diluted the diversity of that, which essentially has become our powerful tool now that we realize we can go out to the Somalia and we'll still find a person who is either Telugu, Tamil, whatever, but he'll still be Carisian. So I think that's the power of connectivity that people need to still instill. We talk about the converge as a theme, second part of it, right? So converge, what converge? Converge means computer science ka wahan pe nahi hota hai. When you talk about the mobility as we were talking about, it's a connected mobility. Computer science bhi chahiye, environmental wala bhi chahiye, material science ka chahiye, physics ka chahiye, multi-physics sciences we talk about it, cadence, circuits design you need to know. When you talk, a lot of people say IoT karunga, maine sensor aata hai kya? Do you know how to do the PCBs? So I think it is a convergence of all these multidisciplinary approach that we talk about under the new education policy. Hopefully some of that will come up. More importantly, there is another element in the new national education policy beyond the multidisciplinary. It's called holistic education. I think Sakesh Bhai touched few aspects of that. How do you communicate and connect with people? Spirituality, meditation, all of that is the holistic part of it, right? So which is not taught in the core engineering subjects of it. So we need to converge on that aspects where the nation is headed. I was talking to Professor Sai yesterday. Do we know the national priorities in terms of research? It's imprint document, for example, right? Those are 10 sectors of India as far as 17 SDGs goals are for the world. But for India, there are 10 sectors, right? It has been clearly defined. So if I don't backtrack and align my path according to that and get all these multi-diversity things and converge into that, there will not be solutions that we'll be able to say. Third is the collaborate part, right? Collaborate with whom? Collaborate with everyone. I think we still think through 81 batch kuch karega, 85 batch kuch karega, ये सब लोग कब करेंगे? I think it is about breaking the boundaries, and I think we had our 20 years yesterday. One outstanding feature that came across to me while we were having drinks, obviously someone was in senses, I guess. He made a comment that, now we are talking beyond parties. Now we are talking beyond boundaries of where we come from, which language we spoke, which background we came up in terms of the social background, right? There were people who came from a very wealthy background. There were people who came from very poor background. And after 20 years, when you think through that, you know, when we talk about empathy, वो जब गांव में बैठा तो किसी लड़के को जाके समझ के आओ, वो अमीर वाला बच्चे शायद ना समझ पाए, क्योंकि गरीबी उसने देखी नहीं है वहाँ पे. So I think the collaboration across the boundaries, across the languages, across the social strata is probably the important aspect that we all need to instill in our kids, because this is the pot, you know, of mixture of the kids that we get from the country. So we have the best opportunity here to create this, and we have this whole theme of connect, converge, and collaborate. So I think there could not have been a more appropriate theme that we can build upon this for next 25 years in 2047 vision. During this Amrit Kal, with these three things, I think we'll be able to cross this bridge for 25 years, and we'll still be happy. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Last question. Been given the signal that we are out of time. We may not be able to take audience questions. Professor Isloor,
Yeah.
you are connected to STEP, S-T-E-P.
Yeah, Science, Technology, Entrepreneurs Park.
Tell us a little bit about it, and we'd like to know how can alumni and industry connect with it. It's a brilliant idea. It's a very good resource.
Yeah.
But somehow many of us don't even know, and if we know, we don't know how to collaborate. So your views on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. This STEP, Science, Technology, Entrepreneurs Park of NITK, it was established during the year 1994 by the finance from the Department of Science and Technology. And during the year 2006, it became a center of self-sustain. So we have our own, we have generated the fundings and we are generating. So our this particular center is running, it's a self-sustain completely. And as of now, successfully about 84 startup companies have been successfully, which have been ventured. In that about around 25 to 30% are from our alumni. To name some, taxi for sure, I think Professor Yergatti sir knows, he's I think 2004 our own CS student, 2004 I think. Yeah. Yeah. And then right now currently we have about 18 startups in our campus, in our incubation center, of which 4 belongs to the our faculty members. Thanks to Ministry of Education for changing this policy, where the existing students as well as the existing faculty members or the researchers of the institution, so they can also establish their own startup companies as per the new policy from the government of India. And about as of now 6 to 7 our own alumni, they are having their own startups in our campus. And we are apart from this, even the faculty development programs and also the training for the farmers as well as the industry people, those things also we are taking up. And from next month, I mean from January 6th or 7th, we'll be starting for our students, NITK students, if interested faculties also can join there. Foreign language courses, just now I was with the person to finalize the terms and condition. So from January 6th, about 35 students have already registered for the German classes. So these things also we are actively involved. And apart from that, as Mohiji has rightly mentioned, the innovation and then research as well as the entrepreneurship. So these type of atmosphere we are inculcating among our students as well as in the faculty members. So I'm also visiting the different departments, and also whenever I get the opportunity, once in a month we are conducting those entrepreneurship related programs or the startup program for our students as well as general public also. This is the our current activities.
Yeah.
And yesterday I had one of the meeting with one of our esteemed alumnus. I don't want to mention here, who is in the US, and yesterday he was in my office. So he's very much interested to open his franchisee, a startup in our incubation center, and one of our faculty member from CS department also, he's also participating in that one. So we want more our alumni to be part of this, and then maybe there are currently many BTech students who have excellent ideas which can be converted, transformed into some commercialized product. And I'll be really thankful to all of you if you can support some fantastic ideas for some seed granting or something like that, seed grant from the alumni side. And definitely there could be a committee who can regularly monitor their progress, and then that's what the request from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We are trying our best to take it to the still higher level.
No, we support you. And on that, so Mohit, you have to say something?
No, I just wanted to add that the policy that Professor is mentioning, which allowed the faculties also to start holding the equity up to 9.5%, was a brainchild from, I saw Professor Yari as a part of that National Innovation and Startup Policy. So you don't have to look far for anything to change in this country as far as education is concerned. We have our own boss at the helm of affairs. He'll have one or the other input to that. So very proud of what Sir has made a change into this whole policy of National Innovation and Startup Policy. I, by the way, take a lecture, sir, on your policy for 2 hours, only for faculties.
Very good. So on that note, we'll end because we have, yeah. 1 second.
Yeah, I am the member in that draft committee also, IAIC. And thank you for calling me Yari, sir. It's dear, I love it. So in that we made, see, there was a problem. Only students and faculty were facing a problem. And when you ask faculty to work free of cost, it's very difficult. Everybody is a human being. So we made that 2% incentive to be taken by the faculty who is working also. So that that seed money, whatever it is, so he also gets some incentives. And that is like a remuneration what he is getting. So that we have clearly cleared everywhere. Even NITK Surathkal board also, it was cleared last time when I was a board member. And Jaipur, we have already implemented that. We have 93 startups, 28 were graduated, and some of the KREC students who are there, I allowed them to start their startup in MNIT Jaipur also, 4 to 5 people. Even Ram Shastri wanted to have this drive you of Jaipur section in MNIT Jaipur. So that's a good opportunity, but we need a brain thinking group, you know, not just a mark, 10-point grader points students to come up. They are coming up. It's in a slow phase. And what Sir said is core industry, most of them are related to core industries only, like how to do the product which can sell, not how to do the solution or software which sells. So it is coming up. It's not again not a rocket speed. It is coming up.
So I think we'll end, sir, but on the interest of time, I'm getting eyes from there. We are floating a form for all faculty and alumni to submit their ideas for electives. If you want to submit your ideas, contact Shinoy sir or me. The panelists are around for everyone for you to engage. I think the alumni should come forward. We'll create a framework where the alumni's ideas and faculty ideas would be discussed, so that some electives can be offered to our students. So once again, thank you Bala sir, Shinoy sir, Yaragatti sir, Puttu sir, Mohit ji, and Isklur sir. Thank you very much. Sorry for keeping you on hold. Audience, please do engage with us after this session. Thank you very much.
I would request you to kindly, all of you to kindly stay back, because 3 of the panelists have not got mentors. We have Mr. B.V. Rao, NITK 1968, mechanical. Bani Rao, right. So that's the spirit. This is another thing where you have to imbibe what the panel was discussing. First of all, to Mr. Uday Yaragatti, Professor Uday Kumar Yaragatti, kindly accept a memento. He is the founder, Mr. Rao is the founder and chairman emeritus of Purna Design Engineers. I would also request Mr. Rao to give it to Professor Arun Isklur. And also to Mr. Mohit Dubey. Innobri. Thank you very much. And I would request the panelists to kindly take your seats in front. And let's give a round of applause because we have a Bharatanatyam presentation coming up. And prior to Bharatanatyam, in the inaugural session, we had announced that donors 1 lakh will be felicitated. And that also we are going to do. In the meantime, our friends, our volunteers will clear the stage for the Bharatanatyam dancing to happen. So kindly stay back. Do not move away. Kindly stay.
Yeah, this is what Shankar Prakash was telling. This is a marble, total marble. It's my design, where we give it to all the people. VIPs come to the institute. So I tell them, see, it is on your table. So when you see, you should see my logo, NITK logo. आप उसको देख के थक गए तो ऐसे रोटेट करो, डायमंड जुबली लोगो मिलेगा. अगर वो भी थक जाता है तो हमारा साउथ कैनरा, मैंगलोर एंड उडुपी का यक्षगाना का ये मिलेगा. एंड दिस इज अ गोल्ड लीफ आर्ट ऑफ जयपुर. So when Professor Balvi Reddy was BOG chairman, it was given to him there when he was in Jaipur. So then he said, why can't you do it for Surathkal? So this is what we did it, and it is my idea. I did it. I am very grateful for my institute. And this is almost like a patented royalty. Nobody else can do that. Either MNIT logo or it should be NITK logo there. Thank you.
When they're arranging, I thought I'll just do one short announcement. I think we discussed this. When this program was curated, we realized that some of us have visited the Central Research Facility, the COEs as well as CSD, but many others may not have. So please make time and have a look so that you can actually understand what's happening in the infrastructure, which can very much be used by the industry. In fact, as Bosch also, we sent our experts to have a look. I think the equipment that are there are really great. A lot of investment has gone into it, but I think if alumni, each one of us here, look at them critically and look at how they can be used for the industry as well as the growth of that area, it will be very much helpful. Just a small request from our side. Yeah, one more thing, I think, I don't know how many of you are aware about the biogas plant. The biogas plant has been installed, which is state of the art. I think it will be really interesting to see how that has also come up in the in the vicinity in NITK itself. Please have a look.
I would request Shri Yagna Narayana to kindly come over to give away the mementos for the donors of 1 lakh. I don't know how many of you are here, but I would like to call upon the name Aital K. Krishnamurthy, 1967. Are you there? Balabhim Badagandi Shamrao, 1968, also 1 lakh. He's there, okay. He's here. Sir, center go, because they'll set the stage now. As Mr. Yagnai will be busy giving away the mementos, I think our friends, colleagues, volunteers kindly remove the table so that we'll save time for the Bharatanatyam. Balabhim Badagandi Shamrao. No, it's not there. I think he must be gone out. You want this? Also have Amin Bhavi and Hegde Associates, Hegde Ramnath Keshav, 1970. Okay, Dr. I. Daya Sagar, 1970, Benedict Makado, 1970, AKP Foundries Private Limited, Balwant Bhandare. Balwant Bhandare, not there. A.V. Shanoy, 1971, Hauruvilla. Ashok Kumar Shanoy, 1971, S.P. Kudwa, Alvin Narona, S.P. Kudwa. Yes. Bani Kudwa Roy. S.P. Kudwa, Alvin Narona, Sanjay Kulkarni, Venkatramana Bhatt, 1978, Venkatramana Bhatt. Hagene Umar TK's Foundation, 1980, Shivappa Avati, 1981. Avati. Avati ಅವರೇ ಬನ್ನಿ ನಾಚ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಬೇಡ ಬನ್ನಿ ಬೇಗ ಡೊನೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಬನ್ನಿ ಶಿವಪ್ಪ ಅವಟಿ 1981 Shashi Kishore Patil, he was there during the lunch. Shashi was here, I met him. He must be preparing for the evening party. Okay. Ravi Menon. Ravi Menon. Bandi Ramesh Kumar, 1984. Bandi Ramesh Kumar. B. Nagaraj Rao, Arrow Electricals Private Limited, Nagaraj Rao. नहीं है. Rajesh Bansal, 1985. Okay. Sunil Hinduja, 1988. Narsingh Rai and Nitin Rai, 1966 and 1990. Father-son duo. Sam India built Appala Jagdish Padala and Basu Ullagadi. Basu, Yurala Idru. They must have just taken a break, I think, after the panel. Yeah, thank you, sir. I think we'll, if Ms. Dowdy, they are around tomorrow, I think we can continue the process tomorrow morning. Thank you very much.
So parallelly, we have another track happening at 5:15 at the Central Library on the first floor, Seminar Hall. We have the NITK Authors Corridor. So there is an interaction and a brief talk by one of the NITK authors, Sushant Gaonkar. So anybody who's interested in the Authors Corridor, you can please join us at the Central Library on the first floor. We now have a cultural performance of Bharatnatyam by the NITK Sudha, which is a registered association in Mangalore, which is run by Soumya Sudhindra Rao and her team. Soumya Sudhindra Rao is a postgraduate in, guess what? In criminology and police administration. But she is a wonderful dancer and who was trained well in various disciplines of dance. We'll talk more about her, but without waiting, I'd like to invite Soumya and her team on stage if they're ready. Please come.
Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. I would like to start the recital of our Nritya Sudha now with Pushpanjali. Pushpanjali anta ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನರ್ತಕಿ ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನೇ ಹೂವಿನಂತೆ ಸಭೆಗೆ, ನಟರಾಜನಿಗೆ, ನಾಟ್ಯಾದಿ ದೇವತೆಗೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ದೇವತೆಗಳಿಗೆ, ಅಷ್ಟಾದಿಕ್ಪಾಲಕರಿಗೆ ವಂದಿಸುತ್ತಾ ಮುಂದೆ ಬರುವ ನೃತ್ಯ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವು ನಿರ್ವಿಘ್ನವಾಗಿ ನಡೆಯಲಿ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಮಾಡುವಂತಹ ನೃತ್ಯವೇ ಪುಷ್ಪಾಂಜಲಿ. ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ನೃತ್ಯ ಸುಧಾ ಎಂಬ ಪರಿವಾರದಿಂದ ಪುಷ್ಪಾಂಜಲಿ, ಇದನ್ನು ನರ್ತಿಸುವ ಕಲಾವಿದರ ಹೆಸರು ಹೀಗಿದೆ: ಸರ್ವಮಂಗಳ, ತಾನ್ಯಾ ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಯಿ, ಹರ್ಷಿತಾ ಸಾಲ್ಯಾನ್, ನವ್ಯಾ ಭಟ್, ಕಾವ್ಯಾ ಭಟ್, ಯಜ್ಞಾ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಶ್ರೀಯರಾವ್ ಸಣ್ಣಯ್ಯ. ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಪುಷ್ಪಾಂಜಲಿ.
taritta jim jim kidadaga dhim tagajudam. Jim 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 taritta jim jim kidadaga dhim tagajudam.
ಶ್ರೀ ತಂಜಾವೂರು ಶಂಕರ್ ಅಯ್ಯರ್ ಇವರ ವಿರಚಿತ ಕೃತಿ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವಶಂಭೋ. ಶಿವನ ವಿವಿಧ ರೂಪಗಳನ್ನು ನಿದರ್ಶಿಸುವ ನೃತ್ಯವೇ ಈ ಕೃತಿ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಶಿವ ಪಾರ್ವತಿ ರಮಣನಾಗಿ, ಗಂಗಾಧರನಾಗಿ, ಡಮರುಧರನಾಗಿ, ನೀಲಕಂಠನಾಗಿ ಹಾಗೂ ತ್ರಿಶೂಲಧರನಾಗಿ ಹೊರಹೊಮ್ಮುವ ಕಿರು ಸಂಚಾರಿಗಳನ್ನು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಬಹುದು. ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಕೃತಿ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವಶಂಭೋ. ಇದರ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಶಿವ ನಟೇಶ ಕೌತುಕವನ್ನು ಅಳವಡಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದು ನಾಟ್ಯ ಶ್ರೀ ಸೆಲ್ವಂ ಇವರ ಸಂಗೀತದಿಂದ ಆಯ್ದುಕೊಂಡ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ನರ್ತಿಸುವ ಕಲಾವಿದರು ವಿದುಷಿ ರಚನಾ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ, ಕುಮಾರಿಯರ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಶ್ರೀರಕ್ಷಾ ಭಟ್ಟಾಜೆ, ಸಿಂಚನಾ ಎಚ್.ಎಸ್., ಶ್ರೀಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಿ ಭಟ್, ದೀಪ್ತಿ ದೇವಾಡಿಗ ಹಾಗೂ ಭೂಮಿಕಾ ಶೆಟ್ಟಿ. ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವಶಂಭೋ.
ನಮಃ ಶಿವಾಯ, ಶಿವಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ, ಶ್ರೀ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ, ಶ್ರೀ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ, ಶ್ರೀ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ, ಶ್ರೀ ಮಾರಕೋಟಿ ಸುಂದರ ಪ್ರಭೋ, ಶ್ರೀ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ. ಧೀಂ ಧೀಂ ತಕ್ಕ ತಿಮ್ಮಿ ತಿಮ್ಮಿ ತತ್ತಿಮ್ಮಿತ್ತ ತಿಮ್ಮಿ ತರಿಕಿಟ ತತ್ತರಿಕಿಟ ತತ್ತರಿಕಿಟ ತತ್ತಿಮ್ಮಿತ್ತ ತರಿ ತರಿಕಿಟ ತಕ. ಸಹಸ್ರ ಕೋಟಿ ಜನಪಾಲನಾ, ಸಹಸ್ರ ಕೋಟಿ ಜನಪಾಲನಾ, ಸಾಧು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣ ಪಾವನ, ಸಾಧು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣ ಪಾವನ, ತಟವನ ಮುನಿ ಜನ ಸಕಲ ಸುರಾಸುರ ಸನ್ನುತ್ಪಾದ ಕಿಂಕಿಣಿ ಝಂ ಝಂ ಝಣ 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 ನೂಪುರ ಲಯ ಗತಿ ಕಣ 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 ವಿಧಿ ಹರಿ ಸೇವಿತ ಸಾಧು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣ ಪಾವನ, ಸಾಧು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಣ ಪಾವನ, ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ. ಸರ್ವೇಶ್ವರ ಕರುಣಾಕರ ಮೂರ್ತೆ, ಸಾಮಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ವೇದ ಪೂರ್ತೆ, ಸರ್ವೇಶ್ವರ ಕರುಣಾಕರ ಮೂರ್ತೆ. ತಕ್ಕುಡು ದಿಕ್ಕುಡು ತಕ ತಕಿಟ ತಕ ತಾಂ, ತಕ್ ತಕ್ ತಕ್ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ತರಿ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ತಾಂಡವ ಅಂಬರ ದಿಕ್ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ದಿಮಿ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ವ್ಯಾಧರ ತುಂ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ತೊಣ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ಶ್ರೀ ಶೂಲಧರ ನಂ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ನನ ಕಿಟ ಕಿಟ ತಕ ನಂದಿ ವಾಹನ, ನಾದಯೋಗ ಪ್ರಿಯ ನಾದಯೋಗ ಪ್ರಿಯ, ಸಾಮಗಾನ ಪ್ರಿಯ ವೇದ ಪೂರ್ತೆ, ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ ಗಂಗಾಧರ ಕೀರ್ತೆ, ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ ಗಂಗಾಧರ ಕೀರ್ತೆ. ಜಗಣಂ ಕಿಟತಕ ಜಗಣಂ ಕಿಟತಕ ತುಕ ತಕ ತತ್ತಕ ತಾಂ, ಜಗ ಜಗ ಜಯ ಜಯ ಶಶಿರ ವಿಭೂಷಿತ ಪರಮೇಶ್ವರ ಗಂಗಾಧರ ಕೀರ್ತೆ ಪತಿತ ಪಾವನ ಶ್ರೀ ಪಶುಪತೆ ಪತಿತ ಪಾವನ ಶ್ರೀ ಪಶುಪತೆ ತಧೀಂ ಧೀಂ ಧೀಂ ತರೂಪ ಭಯಂಕರ ಢಮರುಗ ಹಸ್ತ ತೃತೀಯ ಸಹಸ್ರ ದೀಕ್ಷಿತನಾಥ ನಟೇಶ ಕೌತ್ವಂ ತಕ ತಕ ತಾಂ ದಿಗಿ ದಿಗಿ ತೈ ತಕ್ಕು ದಿಕ್ಕು ತಾಗಿಟ್ಟ ತೊಂಗಿಡ ಕಿಡದ ಗಿಡನ್ ತೊಂಗಿಡ ಕಿಡದ ಗಿಡನ್ ಕಿಣ್ಣಂ ಕಿಡತಕ ದಿಕ್ಕು ತಾಂ ತತ್ತಾಂ ಪತಿತ ಪಾವನ ಶ್ರೀ ಪಶುಪತೆ ಪತಿತ ಪಾವನ ಶ್ರೀ ಪಶುಪತೆ ತಾಹತ ಟೀಕು ತಕ್ಕ ಟೀಕು ತಾರಿತ ಚೇಂ 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 ಏಂ ತತ್ರಿ ತಕ್ಕ ತಯ್ಯಿತ್ತ 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 ಇತ್ತ ತಕ್ಕ ತಗದ ಇತ್ತ ತಯ್ಯಿತ್ತ ತಯ್ಯಿತ್ತ ಇತ್ತ ತಕ್ಕ ತಗ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ನಗ ತರಿಗಿಡ ತಗ ದೀಂ ದೀಂ ದಿನನಂತರಿ ತಗದರಿ ತಗದರಿ ಕದಿಕು ತಗದರಿ ತಗದಿಕು ತದಿಗಿಣದು ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಶ್ರೀಮಾರಕೋಟಿ ಸುಂದರ ಪ್ರಭೋ ಶ್ರೀ ಮಹಾದೇವ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಶಿವ ಶಂಭೋ ಓಂ ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಅಸ್ತು ಭಗವನ್ ವಿಶ್ವೇಶ್ವರಾಯ ಮಹಾದೇವಾಯ ತ್ರ್ಯಂಬಕಾಯ ತ್ರಿಪುರಾಂತಕಾಯ ತ್ರಿಕಾಗ್ನಿಕಾಲಾಯ ಕಾಲಾಗ್ನಿರುದ್ರಾಯ ನೀಲಕಂಠಾಯ ಮೃತ್ಯುಂಜಯಾಯ ಸರ್ವೇಶ್ವರಾಯ ಸದಾಶಿವಾಯ ಶ್ರೀಮನ್ಮಹಾದೇವಾಯ ನಮಃ.
ಮುಂದಿನ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಿ ದಾಸಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರಾದ ಪುರಂದರದಾಸರ ಕೃತಿಯನ್ನ ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಯಮನ್ ಕಲ್ಯಾಣಿ ರಾಗ ಆದಿತಾಳದಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಈ ಕೃತಿ. ಇದರ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಹರಿ ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ. ಹರಿಯನ್ನ ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡಿದ ಗಜರಾಜನಿಗೆ ಮೊಸಳೆಯಿಂದ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ವೈಕುಂಠದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಲಗಿರುವ ವಿಷ್ಣು ಗಜೇಂದ್ರ ಕರೆದಾಗ ಓಡೋಡಿ ಬರ್ತಾನಂತೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿಯ ವಸ್ತ್ರಾಪರಣದ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿ ಕೂಗಿದ ಕ್ಷಣ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಕೂಗ್ತೇವೋ ಆ ಸಮಯಕ್ಕೆ ಭಗವಂತ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಎನ್ನುವ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯವನ್ನ ಕೊಡುವ ಕೃತಿ ಪುರಂದರದಾಸರ ಕೃತಿ ಇದು. ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ.
रक्षका पावननी शरणागत रक्षका पावननी दुरित गजके कंठीरवरे निसिद शरणागत रक्षका पावननी हरिस्मरण माडो निरंतर परगतिगे ಇದು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ ತರುಣಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿ ಮೊರೆಗೇಟ ಕ್ಷಣ ತರುಣಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣ 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 ಮುಕುಂದ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ತರುಣಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿ ಮೊರೆಗೇಟ ಕ್ಷಣ ಭರದಿಂದ ಅಕ್ಷಯ ವಿತ್ತ ಮಹಾತ್ಮನ ತರುಣಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿ ಮೊರೆಗೇಟ ಕ್ಷಣ ಭರದಿಂದ ಅಕ್ಷಯ ವಿತ್ತ ಮಹಾತ್ಮನ ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ ಪರಗತಿಗೆ ಇದು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ ಶ್ರೀಶ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲರಾಯನ ಶ್ರೀಶ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲರಾಯನ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಗೊಡೆಯನ ಮುಟ್ಟಿ ಭಜಿಸಿನಿ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಗೊಡೆಯನ ಮುಟ್ಟಿ ಭಜಿಸಿನಿ ಶ್ರೀಶ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲರಾಯನ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿಗೊಡೆಯನ ಮುಟ್ಟಿ ಭಜಿಸಿನಿ ಹರಿ
ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದಿನ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಿ ಓಂ ಐಂ ಹ್ರೀಂ ಶ್ರೀಂ ಎನ್ನುವ ಬೀಜಾಕ್ಷರದಿಂದ ಆಯ್ದ ದೇವಿ ಸ್ತುತಿ. ತಾಯಿ ದುಷ್ಟ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣಿಯೂ ಹೌದು, ಶಿಷ್ಟ ಪಾಲನೆಯೂ ಹೌದು. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ದೇವಿಯ ವಿವಿಧ ರೂಪಗಳನ್ನು ನಿದರ್ಶಿಸುವ ಈ ಕೃತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವೇನೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾಣಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಚಂಡಮುಂಡರ ಸಂಹಾರ, ಮಹಿಷಾಸುರ ಮರ್ದಿನಿ, ತಾಯಿ ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣೇಶ್ವರಿಯ ಆಗಮನ, ಇವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣಬಹುದು. ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಓಂ ಐಂ ಹ್ರೀಂ ಶ್ರೀಂ ಎನ್ನುವ ದೇವಿ ಸ್ತುತಿಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಇದು ರಾಗಮಾಲಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಇದು ಕಲಾಕ್ರಿಯಾ ಸೀರೀಸ್ ಇವರ ಸರಣಿಯ ಶಬ್ದಗಳಿಂದ ಆಯ್ದುಕೊಂಡ ಸಂಗೀತವಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದೀಗ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಓಂ ಐಂ ಹ್ರೀಂ ಶ್ರೀಂ.
शाम्भवी चन्द्रमौळिरबलाभरणा उमा पार्वते काली हैमवती शिवा त्रिनयनी कात्यायनी भैरवी सावित्री नवयौवना शुभकरी साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी प्रदा जयं देहि यशो देहि द्विषो जहि रूपं देहि जयं देहि यशो देहि द्विषो जहि रूपं देहि जयं देहि यशो देहि द्विषो जहि नित्यानन्दकरी पराभयकरी सौन्दर्य रत्नाकरी
ಕೊನೆಯ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಿ ಕಾಂತಾರ ಸಿನಿಮಾದ ಹಾಡು ವರಾಹ ರೂಪಂ ದೈವ ವರಿಷ್ಠಮನ್ನ ನಾವು ಭರತನಾಟ್ಯ ಶೈಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮೆದುರಿಗೆ ಸಾದರಪಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರೀಯ ಸಂಗೀತದ ತುಣುಕುಗಳು ಕಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ತಂಡದ ಕಲಾವಿದರು.
वराहरूपं देववरीशं वरस्मितवदनं वज्रदन्तधर रक्षाकवचम् शिवसम्भूत भुवि संजात नम्बिदवगिम्बु कोडुववनीत ಸಾವಿರ ದೈವದ ಮನಸಂಪ್ರೀತ ನಿಂದೆವು ಆರಾಧಿಸುತ್ತ
What a wonderful way for us to end this evening. Sandhya Sudhindra Rao and her team for this wonderful performance. Like to invite Mr. Maruti Jambagi, our 1980 batch, CEO of Gammon India, to come and hand over a bouquet to Sandhya ma'am. Maruti. Soumya ma'am.
I would like to invite all my students on stage because nothing is possible without their efforts. I would like to call them on stage. Shriya Rao, Tanya Kottari, Harshita Salyar, Sarva Mangala, Kavya Bhatt, Navya Bhatt, Yajna Shetty, and the next students, Preeti Acharya, Sri Lakshmi Bhatt, Sri Aksha Rao, Bhattaje, Bhumika Shetty, Sinchana HS, Deepthi Devadiga and Vidushi Rachana Shetty here on stage, and I am their mentor, Soumya Sudhindra Rao.
Yeah. Jambagi sir.
Okay, we don't have the 14 bouquets, but one has to be a leader.
Yeah. Can you please look towards the camera, please? Can you please look towards the camera when you're looking? Yeah. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am, and your team. Wonderful job done. We really appreciate it, and we had a good time. Thank you so much. Last, I'd like to invite S.R. Bala to give a word of thanks for this evening. And an hygiene announcement, evening session will be at Red Rock Residency, which is on the other side of the road, and the program will start at about 7:15. So please try and make it in good time for the evening session too. A word of thanks from Mr. Bala.
Yeah, before I forget, let me on behalf of all of you thank Mr. Shankar Prakash for his successfully conducting the session lively and lovely. We are proud that he is the alumnus of this glorious institute. We are also honored to have former directors in the morning session and a couple of them in the afternoon sessions also, like Dr. Balavira Reddy, Professor K.R. Kamath, Professor K.R. Hebbar, Professor Sudhakar Naik, Dr. Gopal Mugaraya. Let me thank Mr. Deepak Shetty, who is the President of Delhi chapter, for comparing the session, later half of the afternoon session. And we are grateful to Sri K. Yajnanarayana, chief guest of our afternoon session, for blessing the occasion with this emotional talk. He is one of the major pillars of our Alumni Association, who had not only nurtured the NITK Alumni Association missions, but also established a harmonious link between the alma mater and alumni fraternity. His advice are always invaluable and relevant in streamlining alumni focus on strongly supporting the Institute's missions convincingly. Besides, we are very grateful to Professor Rakesh Godwani and Mr. R.K. Shanai for their interesting talks on education, NEP, and engineering technology respectively. These topics are very much vital and relevant to both academia and industry. The panel discussions that followed these talks kept the audience in good spirits, for which we profusely thank Professor Uday Yaragati, Mr. Balakrishna Puttur, Professor Arun Islur, Mr. Mohit Dubey. Incidentally, I was also one of the panel members. Subsequently, the cultural program, Bharatanatyam, by NITK Surathkal Mangaluru, Vidushi Soumya Sudhindra and Sudhindra, kept the audience mesmerized, for which our big thanks. The dance to the tunes of music of Kantara movie was like an ice on the cake. Let me once again thank the August gathering for your total participation in the whole session with a lot of enthusiasm and encouragement. We have to profusely thank all the sponsors for various events, entrepreneurial lanes, authors corridor, donors, advertisers for their wholehearted, voluntary support, directly or indirectly, in making this event a runaway success. Thank you very much. Yeah.